Hey guys, before we dive into the show, I wanted to tell you about the perfect trailer queue blueprint, which is 100% free and you can download it right now over at thetrailermusicschool.com/blueprint. Now, this blueprint will help you to completely understand the structure of trailer music, how to build tracks that will be more licensable and have more impact and capture the right people's attention. So whenever you start writing a cue, make sure you've got this blueprint to hand and you can use it to help speed up your process, feel more confident that you've crafted a well-structured trailer cue before you send it off to that publisher or editor or supervisor. Okay, let's get into the episode.
One man with one microphone and one awesome podcast. Welcome to the Trailer Music Composers Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Trailer Music Composers Podcast. Hope you've all had a good week and, been busy landing placements, watching cool movies, the usual. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about kind of the elephant in the room. Well, one of the many, many elephants in the room. I was out with two of the elephants before when I talked about in one of the previous episodes, which I'll link in the show notes below, about anxiety and depression. And another one talking about dealing with overwhelm. Today I wanted to talk about the beast that is Imposter Syndrome. Now, for those of you who don't know what it is by name, because I doubt you don't know about this, and if you do, my goodness, you are quite the enigma. Imposter Syndrome is where you believe yourself to be not as good at something as others perceive you to be. So others' perception of your output as a trailer music composer is that it's outstanding, whereas your internal dialogue with yourself is that it's not outstanding and that somehow you've lucked out, or you've managed to win these placements just by the grace of God, or everything other than your skill. That is imposter syndrome. I wanted to bring this up because it's one of those things where I didn't know it by name. I just thought it was like, I don't think I'm good enough. And then what happens is, then when you start to get some kind of acclaim or success in a specific area, that feeling of not good enough then muddles with the feeling that, well, if I'm not good enough, internally I'm confused that I've managed to find some success. So there must be something wrong with the system, because I'm not good enough to win this success. It must have all been luck, just dumb luck. And I again, it's one of those ones where I want to talk to you from sort of my place of relative success, of awards and regular placements. And I can look back and go, hey guys, that feeling doesn't ever really go, So let's talk about dealing with it. So my experience of it is that, obviously I've worked hard in my career to get where I am, and I continue to, and I'm very proud of that work that I have done. But I still have days when I look and go, I'm just not the best in the room by far. I'm not even the best in the room at the things I'm supposedly best at, So then this internal belief of, oh, actually, I'm just not good enough, full stop. So yeah, I've found this place of success. And when I'm in a certain mood, I found myself deconstructing my successes. I only land loads of placements because my output is bigger. It's not because my tracks are better. It's just because they're the easy pickings. I've only ever won awards because my tracks get submitted for awards and everyone else's don't. That's what everyone else's do, but that's the kind of thinking. It's basically your inner critic laying into you. Just saying you're still rubbish. Oh yeah, so you've won this award. Whoopee doo, you're still crap. And it's really not a nice thing. And like I said, it goes with the mood for me. If I'm in a great mood, I don't necessarily second guess it. I don't not second guess it. I don't walk around being like, I am an award-winning composer who earns money from trailer music. Hooray. I just think, hey, this is great. I love what I do. When I'm in a bad mood, it's like, oh, you're rubbish. Why are you even doing this? You don't even know what you're doing. You can't even write a track. And this is the other thing about teaching courses as well. That adds another layer of mud to the mix where you go, you're supposed to teach this stuff. You can't even write it yourself. And little mini golf buggy going past in the woods. Awesome. And that sort of, on top of that, you slop on all this guilt, all this stress. How are you supposed to be living up to this idea of you being this composer when you can't even write, I don't know, a dramatic piano cue, for example? And it goes on. It continues and goes on and on like this. And for those of you who have experienced this, you know exactly what I mean. It's rubbish. And actually the reason I'm talking about it today is because I'm in one of those moods. I didn't have a great sleep, dealing with some stuff, external to writing music. So my mood is low. So obviously the first thing I attack is something I'm passionate about and makes me happy, which is my ability to write music. So I thought, you know what, rather than just sit here moping at my computer, internally struggling not to go on Instagram again, I'm going to go for a walk and record a podcast, be in nature and talk to myself like any madman would. And here it is. So it's all good and well talking about it. And that is really important for me to talk about this because I want you to be aware of this behaviour in yourself. Because I used to sit there laying into my abilities and take it as gospel. Well, why would I say anything untrue to myself, I'm not going to lie to myself about my abilities. It was all these weird, it's just this constant inner dialogue of crazy mean people, whether it's yourself or people in your past, just saying these things. And so you go, okay, what am I going to do about this? Your first step is becoming aware of it. I often suggest stopping working when you become aware of it, which is exactly what I've done. Okay, I am working by talking on a podcast, but I'm not working in the same way. I have shifted. Is to take a step away, stop working, because you're obviously not in the right place to be productive. And I would take 2 productive hours over 10 unproductive hours, because I guarantee in those 2 hours I will produce much, much more and enjoy it over 10 unproductive hours. And that's often why I don't work full days, because my mood fluctuates. I'm a sensitive guy. I need sleep. I get pasta comas after I've had lunch, that type of thing. I want to embrace that aspect of me, and I'm not going to rally against it and say this is something wrong with me. This is perfectly natural. This is just a sign that we are being overwhelmed by a negative thought sequence or cycle or automatic negative thought, which is, you're rubbish at composing, why are you bothering? You've somehow lucked out in your career and someone's going to find out sooner or later and kick you off all of the trailer music companies. That type of thing. So step 1, try to become aware of your mood. I guarantee the mood is tied in with your imposter syndrome feelings. And that's not being said that when the good stuff happens, it's not there, but it's not nearly as intense. It's like a gentle whisper rather than a drunk yelling at you. And I think that's really, really important to become aware of it. Because then when you become aware of when it happens, you then become aware of the triggers. even me talking to you now about it, I can go, oh yeah, I did have a bad night's sleep. My daughter woke us up a few times, and and then I couldn't get back to sleep because my mind started whirring, which I think is some kind of insomnia, isn't it? Mid insomnia, whatever you call it. And because of that, I'm like, okay, I'm aware that a bad sleep is a trigger. So I guess once you become aware of when it happens, how it happens, why it happens, you can then start to address the triggers. And I'll be the first to say, there's nothing more annoying as a parent of young children than the advice of, make sure you get a good night's sleep. I'm not the one waking up in the night, that type of thing. So I appreciate the irony of me saying that to myself. But sleep is the first and foremost. It's just so important. And I talked about this in my other podcast, Composed, with me, Richard Schreiber, about napping. Dudes, ladies and gentlemen, embrace the nap. Because, it's so vital about resetting your mood and then resetting your productivity. It's just fantastic. It doesn't have to be a long one, just 10, 20 minutes, And the other one is obviously the thing that you'll notice a pattern with a lot of this mental health things is a lot of the resolutions for the issues, are the same. It's basically exercise, be out in nature and find time to be quiet, i.e. meditate. I like to practice this awareness like I have just now. I've stopped working. Even though I have a deadline on the track I was trying to do, I thought, no, scrap it, go. If I miss the deadline, I miss the deadline. My day-to-day health is more important for me at the moment. And, of course, I have the leisure of being in that position. But, and then once you've done that, you go, okay, I've got some awareness. Oh, I'm noticing I'm getting into that mood where I'm starting to question myself, question my abilities. And that's great. That is the first and probably the most hard step, the awareness stage, where you become aware of what you're doing. And depending on where your mood is, how tired you are, your awareness might take a while. And especially if you're in the middle of some kind of drama or story in your life, then the next stage for me would be have the awareness. Great. And then practice something simple, like gratitude journaling. It doesn't have to be journaling. It can just be at the end of the day, sit down with your husband or wife and say, hey, what were you grateful for today? Another way to look at it is look at the small wins. Another way to look at it is imagine yourself as a child and you are your own parent. So you imagine yourself saying to yourself as a parent, I've just won this award. I don't feel like I deserve it because I'm not any good and people are just believing a lie. I've just managed to win. You'd say to yourself as a child, little guy or girl, don't worry. You're fantastic. You are talented. You can do whatever you put your mind to. You are an exceptional person. And you are 1 in 7 billion. You are very, very special and you have tremendous gifts. You just say lovely things like that. You wouldn't say to your child, well, I hope you wouldn't. Yeah, you're right. It's just luck, Next time they'll find out who you really... You're not going to say that. And that's the reassurance. You need to be your friend, don't you? Reassurance. And you can find that through gratitude, or you can find that through journaling as well. So you could do sort of open journaling where you just literally just write down get all that crud out and just write it down. See what happens, and you'll find that you kind of You write and you write and you write and you write, and then all of a sudden, this voice of reason starts to come through. It's like, oh, actually, I did do a good job on this. Yeah, I might have made a mistake here and there, and the mix could have been a bit better, but it was pretty good. And all of a sudden, it's like you've cleaned your own windscreen through this long-form journaling. And you can get a quicker approach through gratitude. I'm really grateful that I have done X, Y, Z. And you can be even more specific. I feel incredibly blessed to have running water to make my fresh coffee in the mornings, which makes me feel awake and alive and excited. That type of stuff. It's not often talked about in the composer world to do journaling, which I think is silly because we're all creative people. And journaling is a form of expression. And I think everything we do is a form of expression, whether it's improvising on an instrument, whether it's composing on manuscript paper, whether it's producing music on a computer, whether it's mastering. It's all an expression of what we are seeing and hearing. We are trying to get a grasp on our life and communicate that grasp or lack thereof in art. And we need to understand that we are like transformers for life. We transform life and its energies and its visuals and orals with AU, by the way. And we transform those into art. We take what we see and we hear and we make it into something. Whether that's on the meta level or whether it's on the macro-micro level, we are transformers. We take one energy input and turn it into another. Unfortunately, sometimes our transforming abilities malfunctions and we take an energy input and output negative thought spirals, We take this energy and it comes out in like just crud, where we're just horrible to ourselves. So we're kind of doing the same process. And sometimes, this is why some artists, composers, producers, whatever it is, some creatives like to have negativity in their life because they can then use that and transform that negativity into work, into art. They can make angry prose. They can produce beautiful abstract paintings by throwing knives at the wall that are covered in paint and gouache, So there is beauty in transforming negativity. But you have to have tremendous control on that negativity outside of that transformation. And the trouble is, a lot of us don't have that control. A lot of us don't and are not able to control the rude git that's sitting next to us laying into our work. So what do? We transform in another way, which is what I'm doing now. I felt pretty rubbish about myself and my music, so I thought, I know, storm's coming. I'm going to go for a walk and talk about this. And you know what? I can feel my mood shifting, not just because I'm outside, not just because I'm walking, but because I'm talking about it. This podcast has been insanely cathartic for me. Insanely. And the fact that this could potentially help you, dude, I feel completely blessed and honoured that this is an arrangement we have now. So you've got your awareness. I'm aware that this mood is creating this thought pattern. And you've shifted your energies to do something else. Go for a walk, stop doing the work, do some washing up, have a nap. You're also practicing a positive transformation where you actively look for things that are going well. What you're doing there is you're training your positivity. You're training your ability to look for the good stuff. Because you know what? It's a skill. And, the trouble is, being British, we're plagued with this idea of being realistic, massive air quotes there, where being realistic is actually just being negative, but, dressed up in fancy clothes. So it's Mr. Realistic. I'm Mr. Science, brackets, Mr. Realistic, We don't want to have realism here, because realism is negativity. So many times positivity that has manifested in somebody's life is then just brushed off as coincidence. Luck. And that is one of the root problems we have. The good stuff that happens in our life is brushed off as something that wasn't meant to happen. Because being realistic, I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as these guys, so why would I win the trailer? I'm not as good as these guys, so why would I win the award? That's being realistic. No, you're being a massive boob. I just realised my intentional beep sounded like I said the word boob. So, it kind of worked. I'm getting quite fired up about this because I didn't realise how much, I guess, anger and resentment I hold for people who talk about being realistic. You got to train yourself to be positive, and that's what you're doing. Because that training in positivity will help you when the going gets tough. You won't sit there tired, laying into your work. And I will admit this, I have let my positivity training go. I have let it go a little bit recently, which is why I'm out today. Because admittedly, oftentimes I can handle a bit of negativity when I'm writing, because I'm just like, shut up, dude, I'm writing. And then he goes on to his track. But at the moment, I'm tired, It's been a strange 2 years. And I haven't been practicing my positivity training, I haven't been doing my spiritual practice, I haven't been doing all that stuff that I know helps when stuff gets hard. So I'm giving myself the G up again. Dude, you know what to do. Go and practice it. Hit the gym. Meditate. Have a nap. Eat healthy. Drink lots of water. Get away from screen time. Don't spend too much time on your phone. In fact, try to avoid it at all costs, he says, talking to into his phone. Let's not get onto phone addiction, because that's like another podcast entirely. Phone addiction. So what have we got up until this point? We've got awareness that now allows us to then stop the pattern. We've got some kind of positivity training that allows us to overpower those negative moments. And there are many, many other aspects that you could incorporate into this. Surrounding you with nice people, surrounding yourself with nice people who believe in you. Strangely enough, it reinforces the nice things about yourself. Because, the fact that I get so many placements and I've got awards, it's great. Doesn't mean I don't have those days when I go, I feel a bit cheeky. I feel like I, lucked myself into this. Nah, there's no luck. So what we've got here is, if I surround myself with good people, and this is what I have found from the students of the Trailer Music School and the students of Protégé, what I have found is that I come away from them believing more in myself. And I like to think that I allow them to believe in themselves more too. So I thank you, my students, because you help me when I feel down as well. Because we all do, Life is cycles, ups and downs, ups and downs. Some downs are worse, some ups are better. So we've got this. Surrounding yourself with better people. And obviously then we fall into those, I don't want to say the word cliches, but the things we hear all the time. Exercising, sleeping, eating healthy. I can't actually help you overcome this. This is something you have to do the work on yourself. It's kind of like that. I'm not going to give you a magic bullet to land loads of placements. I can give you some tools that will help you help yourself. Oh, that's a Faith No More lyric. Get in. Distracted. So what I would like you to practice is one of those like cool hashtags. Be kind. And I'm telling myself this as well. Be kind to yourself. Because if you're not kind to yourself, it sucks. I was really hoping something poetic would come there. Something really quotable. If you're not kind to yourself, then the universe will collapse. Something like that. But if you're not kind to yourself, how can you expect other people to be kind to you as well? Remember, like attracts like. Being kind to yourself, hopefully that will manifest as kind people surrounding you. And, I know, just going off on a slight tangent, and this is one of my battles, especially in Britain, we have this nothing is easy. Especially work. Work should be hard, and you should work long hours and overwork as well. And think about work when you're not working. Because if you succeed when you work too hard, that's great. If you succeed when you don't work much, you're cheating. There's this unspoken rule in our country, in England, where if you succeed by working less than even 40 hours a week, you must be doing something sneaky. So I've been battling with myself for a long time about being kind to myself by not working every free hour of the day. Even going for a walk, which is medically advised for mental health. And I know it helps me. Even going for a walk, I'm like, well, got to work, got to take my podcast. So even now I've managed to sneak in some work. And that's one of my crosses to bear, I suppose, and one of my lessons to learn. But in this instance, I don't see this as work because I love it and it energizes me. And I come away from these feeling completely positive and buzzing. I want you guys to practice kindness. If you notice yourself being mean to yourself, stop working, do something else, even just for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, nap, play golf, whatever it is. And then on the long term, practice positivity. Practice it with your partner, Hey, all right, darling, what were you grateful for today? Well, today I was grateful for the lovely cup of tea. I don't know who those people are or why they sounded like that, but I think I was talking about, anyway. Practice being grateful. I'm super, super grateful for you guys listening to this. Super grateful. Doing a podcast has been on my list for years and years. And the fact that I'm now into sort of 18 months of doing a podcast and I get continued listeners who still message me with nice thoughts about it and nice words. You guys are bloody legends. And, I know it's kind of niche because it's talking about trailer music, but I like to think I'm helping you guys out with other stuff, like the stuff around trailer music. In fact, whilst I'm talking on sort of mental health, imposter syndrome, I want to kind of bring to your attention, guys, that I will be launching a new podcast. So I have my composed podcast, which is their bite-sized episodes. They're 2 to 7 minutes long, usually relating to looking after yourself. Kind of like this episode, but shorter. Little tips and tricks and thoughts about mental health and self-help and personal development for composers and producers. I love it. It's very niche again. Just one of my little passion projects, really, because I like talking about this stuff. I really enjoy talking about self-help and personal development. So the new podcast I have named appropriately The Richard Schreiber Show. because I figured if I'd named it like the musician's mental health hour, it just felt too dry and serious. If I mentioned it like making money online with your music, sounds too salesy and cheesy. If I named it, music producers, composers, music makers, it just felt too like, what is that? So I've made it even more confusing by calling it the Richard Schreiber Show. Because I want to deal with lots of things. I want to talk about the ups and downs of being a music maker professionally. So it's all interviews. Well, so far. It will be in series, so it won't be sort of weekly like this one. It will be weekly for, say, 10 episodes, and then I'll have a break to give myself some time to catch up with the interviews, because they take a lot of time. Interviewing all sorts of musicians about their ups and their downs and what they bring to the table, basically. Because there's so many amazing people out there, and I kind of want to share other people's stories. Other people are on their own journey, and hearing other people's journeys just inspires me so much. And do you know what? Since starting the interview process for it, I have felt so much more connected to the composer community. It's been wonderful. I feel like, hey, I know these guys. I know that person. Rather than like, who are they? I don't know. Why am I following these people? So I will be, launching that in the coming months. I'm very, very excited about it. I've even done a little rebranding of myself, Richard Schreiber, on my own richardschreiber.com website to kind of go in line with that podcast. So that podcast is tied in with my website. This podcast is tied in with the Trailer Music School, because it's all about trailer music. My stuff is all about being a professional composer and producer, basically, and how hard it is, but also how rewarding it is. So I'll keep you posted about that when I launch it. But in the meantime, guys, just want to say a very quick thank you for taking the time to listen to this. You guys are absolute legends. And if you are struggling with imposter syndrome, be kind to yourself. This isn't like medical advice or anything like that, just a disclaimer there. This is my thoughts on the situation and my experience with it. Be kind to yourself, because that is the thing that has gotten me through the darker times of that negative spiral. Take care, guys. Go watch some TV shows you enjoy. Go to a spa. Enjoy your lives. See you soon.